The original PlayStation that Sony released in 1995 in the United States has been an enormous part of my gaming history. With tons of releases that sparked the imagination, gave me a surge of adrenaline, or even gave my brain a workout. As such, I'm very interested in the release of the PlayStation Classic, a micro-console similar to Nintendo's NES Classic that's intended to let people relive the glory days of 32-bit low-resolution 3D and non-analog controls on their modern televisions. I've already gone over the broad strokes in an earlier video on my channel, so for now, it's time to focus on the games. The PlayStation Classic has a list of 20 games, and in the next 7 days, it's my goal to go over all 20 of them and how I feel about their inclusion on the micro-console. I'll be covering 3 games per day, so go ahead and click the subscribe button to make sure you don't miss a single video. First up, we've got Rayman, a gorgeous 2D platformer created by Michel Ancel and published by Ubisoft, the first game in a long-running series. This first installment is a much simpler game than the newest games released, but absolutely makes up for it in the graphics department. For the era, this is a phenomenal-looking game with bright colors and varied environments, gorgeous animations, and so much attention to detail. But despite its looks, Rayman is a brutally difficult platformer, requiring you to find every single secret to get the real ending. It's a bright spot in the PlayStation Classic's library, though. Definitely a fun game, even if it is a bit frustrating in the difficulty department. I would give it a solid 8 out of 10. Second on the list today is a game that I've got a lot of nostalgia for, Cool Borders 2. You'll probably hear me say this a lot throughout these mini reviews, but I owned a lot of demo discs back when the PlayStation was new. In fact, I'd say that the vast majority of PlayStation games that I played were first played on demo discs, obtained through either Pizza Hut or the PlayStation Underground magazine. Cool Borders 2 was one such game. I sat with my friend for hours and tried to get first place on the single included track, but I was never able to do it. The closest we ever came was third place by some strange miracle. Going back to this game to review it brought back a lot of memories, but it's also made me realize that it wasn't just me being an idiot kid. This game is actually brutally tough. This was an extreme sports game made before the advent of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, so the control scheme for this kind of game wasn't standardized, and it definitely shows. Pulling off tricks was never easy, and gaining enough speed to overtake other racers felt nearly impossible. And despite the fond memories I have of playing this game as a kid, it's definitely a game that's not aged well. And in fact is one of the weakest entries on the PlayStation Classic. I'd give it a 2 out of 10. Last on the list for today is Twisted Metal, the venerable car combat game with the deadly clown mascot. This is one of the big ones. People all over the internet wanted a Twisted Metal game included on the PlayStation Classic, but the one they were asking for was Twisted Metal 2, not the first game, and there's a good reason for that. Twisted Metal 1 is a much rougher game, much less refined. There's the idea for a great game here, a literal diamond in the rough, except there's a lot more rough than diamond. The enemy AI is extremely aggressive, and if you're the only target, he'll be right underneath you, firing their entire salvo at you, taking you out extremely quickly. On the bright side, you can take them out just as quickly. I could take out an enemy with just a handful of rockets compared to the huge HP pools of the later games in the series. One feature of the game that I don't seem to remember the sequels having is pedestrians that also shoot at your car. I lost a round looking for health because a pedestrian decided to fire his machine gun in my general direction, which just didn't seem very fun to me. Death in this game means you have to restart the mission from the beginning, which is a giant pain, especially in the later missions when you've got 5 opponents fighting against you. Basically, this game is the foundation for a great series, and is somewhat fun to play, but more as a history lesson than an actual game. It's always worth something to know your roots, but I'll always question why Sony decided to include the first Twisted Metal instead of its far better sequel. Twisted Metal earns a 4 out of 10 from me. So that's today's reviews. 3 of the 20 games down, 17 more to go. Thanks for watching the video today, I definitely appreciate it. If you like what I'm doing here, make sure you click the subscribe button so you can catch every single video from Question Block Gaming.